Hare Krishna, somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
Prabhuji,
Go
can
ahead,
I?
Mother. Yeah, Mother Jija, go ahead.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanachala Salakaya Chakrurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swayam Padani Nitikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yukta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagari Jatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijatam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Divyam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vaishnavaitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpataru Bhashyacha Kripa Sindhu Bheva Evata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So today we will cover Canto 3, Chapter 27, verses 12 to 30 and finish this Chapter 27. Then we will discuss upcoming presentations by you all devotees after completion of Canto 3. So not the unit presentations, but a bigger presentation where you all will do presentation for about 45 minutes on a topic of your choice. So no anxieties, I will explain towards the end of the class, and I will also help and guide each one of you individually as well. So let's begin with you all explaining one or more points and asking one or more questions.
Prabhuji, some qualities to be cultivated by devotees are to be thoughtful, peaceful, compassionate, no enmity towards other jivas, and satisfaction of what comes on its own accord, Prabhuji.
Okay, very good. Some qualities to develop. All right.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
We also, read about the pure devotee, how the purity of the soul is described. So although in the material world, the jiva is undergoing different bodily changes, but if one is fixed in devotion service, then the three modes of material nature does not affect him. And the analogy is about the sun's reflection of different kinds, in different kinds of water. It will, some it will be still, some it will be murky, but for a pure devotee, there's no effect, Prabhu.
Okay, very good. There will be further discussion on that point today also in the upcoming verses. Okay, very good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. As the soul is always alone, when you connect with Lord Krishna, you connect with everybody. If you want to get out of dreaming condition, Krishna being the enjoyer, you are only a servant. You control your mind only by Bhakti Yoga and transfer the mind from matter to Bhakti Yoga and concentrate your mind with the Lord. This is my realization, one of the.
Okay,
I will continue.
Yeah, very good. And that same discussion will continue in the verses that we'll cover today. Rest of you?
Yes, Prabhuji, we have to follow
the process with faith and regulating in our habits, behavior in eating.
All right.
No.
Okay, rest of you.
Prabhuji, there was one version about the pious and impious activities are due to a karma dosaya. That is that I was not able to be very clear about. Karma
Okay.
dosaya.
Okay, very good. Very good inquiry. Somebody wants to help Chandan Prabhu about karma dosha.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, both pious as well as pious activities are faulty. Other than devotional, pure devotional service, whatever that we do in materialistic world, maybe even, for example, people set up hospitals, they do all kinds of charity, everything is actually all part of the karma dosha.
Yeah.
Again, it will be brought to you back in the cycle of birth and death. Maybe one will maybe born maybe in a more materially better comfort, or maybe in a good family, or maybe you'll progress a little bit, from a starting point where you ended your spiritual service. Again, you may start at a different level, but you are not escaping the cycle of birth and death.
Yeah, very good. Absolute correct answer. That yes, karma dosha means refer to faulty actions. So if somebody is doing vikarma, obviously it is faulty. But even the pious activities are faulty from the spiritual perspective, because pious activities, as Gopal Prabhu correctly described, it's going to bring you back in the material world. You may take birth in a aristocrat family, but essentially what's the difference? You are back in the material world. Therefore, karma dosha is faulty, whether pious or impious karma, both are faulty from the spiritual point of view. Chandan Prabhu, does that help you?
Prabhuji, I thoroughly understood. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good. Rest of you.
May I ask a small clarification, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
This karma dosha and pious activity building a hospital, I understood. Supposing you spend on upliftment of the uneducated, where you invest a lot of resources for bringing up the family in education, in the positive way, it comes under which category?
Yeah, it's no difference. So hospital is also positive, and education is the same way. So if you have the inclination for charity or for helping somebody in their education, what you can do is, and I can guide you further to get to the right source. So there are Vaishnav devotees, meaning children of Vaishnav devotees in Vrindavan and Mayapur, who need this help. So instead of you helping anybody and everybody in the material world, use your helping inclination to help Vaishnav devotees. So the result is that your karma, your pious karma, doesn't become karma dosha. Because you are helping a devotee, it actually becomes Krishna conscious activity. Or another example is last year, if you recall, I mean, it was this year also for the Bhadra Purnima. Last year, many of us, we came together and we sponsored one Bhagavatam set together. I mean, others did individually also. But few of us sponsored, and I think, I don't know who all were there. Shalini would know. We all came together to sponsor one Bhagavatam set for giving the Bhagavatam set to those poor people in India, in Vrindavan, Mayapur, or some villages like this. So yes, our inclination is what? To help education, but we are not helping material world education, because material world education is slaughterhouse. Prabhupada has clearly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam that Bhagavatam should be taught from very early stage, like a grade 5 or before. So your inclination to help education wise gets spiritualized when you help in this way. Say you give Bhagavatam that gets placed in villages and schools in villages, underprivileged schools and in villages, or you can directly help some devotee in Vrindavan or Mayapur. So to help some devotee directly in Vrindavan or Mayapur, don't go by yourself, don't go on advertisement or anything. I can get you connected with the actual devotee who is in Vrindavan or Mayapur, and the funds are not going to go here or there. They're going to go exactly to what your intent is. Uncle?
Got it, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Rest of you?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just to add, last year that donation which we had donated one set all together, Uncle Auntie was also part of it, Prabhu.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I thought I remember, but I wasn't sure. Therefore, I let you speak. Okay, very good. So, Uncle, you and Auntie, your inclination is already taken care of in the right way.
Thank you.
This year, full Bhagavatam set, Auntie has donated.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Somebody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, we also read that by Ashtanga Yoga and the Jnana Yoga, one can't control the mind for a long time, Prabhu. It's only by Bhakti Yoga the mind can be controlled. So
Yeah.
we are attached to Asat, so we have to withdraw that and get connected to Sat, that Supreme Personality of God.
Yeah, very good. And further discussion on that topic also is coming up today as well. Very good.
Prabhuji, one more clarification.
Mhm.
Prabhupada says wealthy people donate a small portion of resource to Krishna consciousness is worthy. Focused or real name for the discussion about the conditioned soul. Now, small portion of Krishna consciousness, this is what you meant, Mayapur, where the resource is properly spent. This is what you meant.
So, Prabhupada has explained this in Canto 1, Chapter 5, around verse 11. I think it might be in verse 11 or plus minus 1 or 2 verses. What Prabhupada has said is that wealthy people of the world, they have so much opulences. And if they spend just a tiny portion of their wealth on Krishna conscious activities, doesn't matter in Vrindavan or any place, wherever there is Krishna and devotees, it is Vrindavan. If the wealthy people spend even a tiny portion, it becomes so much impactful in the world. That's what Prabhupada is saying. So not tiny, tiny things doesn't refer to like tiny things, but he's saying that the tiny of a wealthy person becomes a lot of help for spirituality. Does that help? Devangi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, the point about Krishna being the best friend, that one stuck with me from last time.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, he is Suhadram Sarva Bhutanam. That, and if you actually read, should be there in Bhagavatam also. Prabhupada says, your ever well-wishing friend. And actually many spiritual masters, including my spiritual master, also sometimes in his communication he writes this. But sometimes, many times, he writes this same statement, that yes, you are ever wishing friend. Yeah. Very good, the remembrance. Rest of you, questions, comments, realizations. All right. So let's continue from Canto 3, Chapter 27. We covered verse 11 last time, but for continuity, we will continue from verse number 11 again. So the context or the recap is that in this chapter 27, Lord Kapila describes Bhakti Mishra Gyan, the conditioned jiva and the liberated jiva. The transcendental jiva becomes absorbed in gunas and bewildered by false ego, resulting in transmigration and the doer mentality. The qualities to be developed by Jnani are described, and I, as neophyte, I do not have full support for the Bhakti Yoga because I am not pure, I am still neophyte. Therefore, in my sadhaka stage, I need help from Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga to some extent. And some elements of the Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga are needed by the neophyte, can be used by the neophyte, and therefore all these qualities of Jnani, definitely we can also develop. So part 3 is verses 12 and 13, inferring the presence of soul and super soul. So all these today's rest of the verses are really in 2 or 3 verses make up one part. They are all having small topic. Of course, they are all connected. So we'll start with verse number 11 for our continuity. So verse number 11 describes the characteristics of super soul as seen by the pure devotee. Shivangi, verse 11 translation.
Hare Krishna. A liberated soul realizes the absolute personality of Godhead, who is transcendental and who is manifest as a reflection even in the false ego. He is the support of the material cause and he enters into everything. He is absolute, one without a second, and he is the eyes of the illusory energy. Hare Krishna.
So the characteristics of the super soul are described here, that a liberated soul, how he sees the super soul are that the super soul manifests as a reflection even in the false ego. The super soul is the cause of Prakriti. The super soul is the revealer of the material elements. It's pervading into everything and is one without a second. And verse number 12 and 13 continue that thought process that the present, how the pure devotee sees the Lord. Shivangi, continue 12 and 13 translations.
Hare Krishna, the presence of the Supreme Lord can be realized just as the sun is realized, first as a reflection on water, and again as a second reflection on the wall of a room, although the sun itself is situated in the sky. The self-realized soul is thus reflected first in the threefold ego and then in the body, senses, and mind. Hare Krishna.
So the pure devotee is able to see Krishna even in the reflected platform of material energy because he realizes that material energy is an energy of the Lord. Hence, even when pure devotee lives in the material world, he is always in Krishna consciousness and never in material consciousness. So in these two verses, the example is given how the self-realized devotee sees the Lord. So analogy of the sun is given to understand how the pure devotee sees the Lord. So sun is in the sky, sun is reflected on water, and the reflection of water comes on the wall in our room. And we say, oh, sun has come. And this way you infer the presence of the sun. The pure jiva, he is influenced by the three modes, which is reflected in the body, mind, and senses. And this way you infer the presence of the jiva. Similarly, Supreme Lord, the Lord is reflected in everything by his energies. This is the understanding of the pure devotee. And this way he infers the presence of the Lord. Questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, can you repeat that again?
Repeat which part?
This analogy again.
Okay, I'll repeat the whole analogy. So the sun is in the sky. Sun is reflected on water. And the reflection of the water comes in our room on a wall. This way we infer the presence of the sun. Sun is not in our room, but when the reflection is there, we say, oh, sun has come. But what we are doing, we are inferring the presence of the sun. Then the pure jiva is influenced by the three modes, which is reflected in the body, mind, and senses. So this way, you can infer the presence of the jiva. And same way, Supreme Lord, the Lord is reflected in everything by his energies. So this is the understanding of pure devotee, not my understanding. This is the understanding of a pure devotee, that the pure devotee is able to see the Lord through his energies. And this way you infer, or the pure devotee infers, the presence of the Lord. Shivangi?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, when I was reading this, chapter, when I was reading the chapter, I realized one more thing, the connection to Bhagavad Gita, one of the verse, Prabhu, where it's saying that the pure devotee does not see any difference between even, a stone, a diamond, difference between a diamond and stone, and a beggar or a dog. There's no difference, Prabhu. That was another thing which.
Okay, very good. What's the verse for this? Samadarshina verse.
Samadarshana.
Shalini?
I don't remember, Prabhu.
Anybody help Shalini?
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Prabhu.
Very good. 5.18, as well as the same is there in 6.8 and 9. Both are Samadarshina verse. Very good. Sridhar Prabhu and we have memorized this verse when we were physically in close proximity to each other. Very good, Sridhar Prabhu. All right. So part 4 is verses 14 to 16. Title is Soul Without Material Coverings. Now verse number 14 speaks of the position of a devotee situated at the platform of pure devotion. So some devotees come to the material world as spiritual master is what is explained here. So externally, it may seem that the pure devotee is living same as a materialistic person. But devotees never identify with material body, never identify with the impersonal Brahman Jyoti also. Rather, they always maintain their individual identity of Jive Swarupa Hoye Nitya Krishna Das, that I am the eternal servant of the eternal Master Krishna. Now the example to understand this is that how the pure devotee is different. Like if you look at me, I don't find any difference between me and me as the soul and me as body. I don't even know I'm me as the soul. I just think I am the body. But the pure devotee has difference between the body and the soul. The pure devotee never identifies with the body. So the example is a green parrot enters a tree. So from outside, everything looks green. But still, the parrot that has gone, it's in the analogy is kind of the soul. It still has its own identity. So devotees in the material world externally may seem to be material, like everything is green. Just in the tree and the parrot, they get mixed up. But the devotees always keep their original identity at the soul level by not identifying themselves at bodily level. Shalini, verse 14, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 14. Although a devotee appears to be merged in the 5 material elements, the objects of material enjoyments, the material senses, and the material mind and intelligence, he is understood to be awake and to be freed from the false ego. Purport. The explanation by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakta Rasamrit Sindhu of how a person can be liberated even in this body is more elaborately explained in this verse. The living entity who has become Satyadrik, who realizes his position in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, may remain apparently merged in the 5 elements of matter, the 5 material sense objects, the 10 senses, and the mind and intelligence, but still he is considered to be awake and to be freed from the reaction of false ego. Here the word Leena is very significant. The Mayavadi philosophers recommend merging in the impersonal effulgence of Brahman. That is their ultimate goal or destination. That merging is also mentioned here. But in spite of merging, one can keep his individuality. The example given by Jiva Goswami is that a green bird that enters a green tree appears to merge in the color of greenness, but actually the bird does not lose its individuality. Similarly, a living entity merged either in the material nature or in the spiritual nature does not give up his individuality. Real individuality is to understand oneself to be the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. This information is received from the mouth of Lord Chaitanya. He said clearly upon the inquiry of Sanatan Goswami that a living entity is the servitor of Krishna eternally. Krishna also confirms in Bhagavad Gita that the living entity is eternally his part and parcel. The part and parcel is meant to serve the whole. This is individuality. It is so even in this material existence when the living entity apparently merges in matter. His gross body is made up of 5 elements. His subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego, and contaminated consciousness. And he has 5 active senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. In this way, he merges in matter. But even while merged in the 24 elements of matter, he can keep his individuality as the eternal servitor of the Lord. Either in spiritual nature or in material nature, such a servitor is to be considered a liberated soul. That is the explanation of the authorities and is confirmed in this verse. Hare Krishna.
So we do know all these points. It's just that they are all placed in one place. And although all these points from Kapila Siksha are known to all of us for long, but now they are still seem to be heavy because they are all coming together. I don't know about you all having the same feeling or not. But the verse 14 purport had a lot of points as well. Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Dipanju, go ahead.
Prabhuji, how can we identify a pure devotee to seek their association, like in the temple? Or
Everybody is a pure devotee, but so we have discussed this in Nectar of Instruction about Uttamadhikari, the characteristics of Uttamadhikari. Generally, Uttamadhikaris are spiritual masters. I mean, not all pure devotees are spiritual masters. At the Toronto temple, for sure, we have His Holiness Bhaktimarg Swami, or Dharma Prana Prabhu, or Dwarkanath also is not too far. So there are devotees, and devotees who are pure or who are spiritual masters. We have discussed the characteristics of a pure devotee in Sri Upanishad as well as Nectar of Instruction, that the pure devotees are always engaged in Krishna consciousness. Pure devotees' knowledge is very strong. So knowledge is not theoretical knowledge, but knowledge in terms of transforming others. So pure devotees will be able to defeat anybody and transform them to Krishna consciousness based on their knowledge ability. Plus, one very important standout quality is that pure devotees have no inclination to criticize anyone. Not only they don't criticize, they have no inclination to criticize anyone, and they only look at good qualities in everyone so that they can fan that quality of that devotee and take them forward. Dipanshu Prabhu.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one more question. That I don't have any physical association of devotee right now here in my hometown. So how can I see?
Yeah, so our Bhakti classes help that way to a certain extent. Now,
if I talk to them remotely, will that be considered as
Yeah.
associating with the devotees?
Yeah, you are correct. It's association with devotees. And let me find a small lecture that devotees, I don't know where I will find it. Devotees always complain that I don't have access to my spiritual master. Yeah. So how can devotees be with the spiritual master? And the short lecture that I will play, it explains about Vani Seva. That Vani Seva means following the instructions of your spiritual master is more important than Vapu Seva. So as long as you are following the instructions of your spiritual master, you are always with your spiritual master. And as long as all of you are not initiated or you don't have a living spiritual master so far, Srila Prabhupada is our living spiritual master until you get a living spiritual master. And even after getting a living spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada continues to be our spiritual master. So follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. What has Srila Prabhupada said? Read my books, listen to my lectures, follow 4 regulator principles, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra at least 16 rounds every day, and preach. Well, do all these things. You are always with Srila Prabhupada. So let me play this 1 or 2 minute short lecture. And
devotees are complaining.
You let me know if that answers your question or not. I'll bring up on screen.
Devotees are complaining. My guru has so many disciples who have no connection with him. It's so far and very far back behind. Even if he's physically present, my senior powerful brothers and sisters do block me from having access. How do I connect to my guru? The science is not physical. Don't you have your mind? You don't have the mind to think of your guru? You don't have your tongue, the mind to pray to the guru, to confess, to tell him, to beg him for strength, to beg him for shelter, to beg him for protection, to thank him for everything that he's doing. The facility, everybody has it. Why can't we use it? So use it. So for a devotee who is using this, following the principle, where is the distance between you and your spiritual master? Where is the distance? The mind not engaged in Krishna consciousness is creating the distance. Therefore, the process is given to us here.
All right.
Yes.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Very nice.
So where's the distance? And what did he say? Your mind not engaged in Krishna consciousness is what is causing the distance between you and devotees and you and your spiritual master. Bang to the point.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Excellent, but just back to the point.
1 minute.
Very good. All right, let's continue. So we discussed verse 14, the purport. Definitely we read the heavy purport. So verse 15 as an analogy of a deep sleep. Let's see. Chandran Prabhu, verse 15 translation.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The living entity can vividly feel his existence as the seer, but because of the disappearance of the ego during the state of deep sleep, he falsely takes himself to be lost. Like a man who has lost his fortune and feels distress, thinking himself to be lost.
So Prabhupada gives the example, or the verse gives the example, that if somebody loses money and the person will say, oh, I am lost. Are Baba, you are not lost. The person is still there. It's the money that is lost. So it's just an analogy given here for explaining the point here. And verse number 16 has further explanation with an example as well. So we'll read verse number 16 translation and purport paragraph number 1. Mother Jija.
Text 16 translation. When by mature understanding one can realize his individuality, then the situation he accepts under the false ego becomes manifest to him. Purport. The Mayavadi philosopher's position is that at the ultimate issue, the individual is lost. Everything becomes one, and there is no distinction between the knower, the knowable, and knowledge. But by minute analysis, we can see that this is not correct. Individuality is never lost, even when one thinks that the three different principles, namely the knower, the knowable, and knowledge, are amalgamated or merged into one. The very concept that the three merge into one is another form of knowledge, and since the perceiver of knowledge still exists, how can one say that the knower, knowledge, and knowable have become one? The individual soul who is perceiving this knowledge still remains as individual, both in material existence and in spiritual existence. The individuality continues. The only difference is in the quality of the identity. In the material identity, the false ego acts, and because of false identification, one takes things to be different from what they actually are. That is the best principle of conditioned life. Similarly, when the false ego is purified, one takes everything in the right perspective. That is the state of liberation. It is stated in the Ishopanishad that
Okay.
everything belongs to the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvam. So explanation is given that individuality is never lost. So money is lost, he is not lost. When he dies, he never dies, means the soul never dies. The soul only loses his body. So this process is misunderstood by conditioned souls. So you tell me, how many times have you heard this from the last so many years? I am not this body, I am a soul. But in practice, I am still this body. So that's what Lord Kapila is explaining, that this process is misunderstood by the conditioned souls, where he thinks that when he dies, means when he loses the body, the soul thinks, oh, that's it, I have no more life. No, the soul continues forever. And the solution is given that one should see everything as energy of God and learn to dovetail everything in service. Questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, you asked a question, how many of us think I am not the body? Am I right? Have I understood?
Correct.
I do breathing exercise in the morning, learned from Isha Foundation about 20 years back. And one of the concepts which they taught that when you do meditation, I am not the body. I am not the body. 10 times we tell that. Which I have been practicing it. I just wanted to share with you.
Okay, and does that actually help you by verbally just saying, or I really doubt
While
that.
doing meditation,
Yeah.
this is repeated, it gives you a sense of realization that ultimately we are, the soul is there, but now after Krishna consciousness exposure, I have learned that soul never perishes. It transgresses. And only body perishes. That realization has come.
Yeah, so there are these so many avenues of meditation that just by saying I am not this body is not enough. We have read this in Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada says, just theoretically knowing that I am not this body, or just verbalizing I am not this body, is not enough. That is not going to get you liberation. You have to take the next step. Okay, that if you are not this body, you are a soul, then act at the level of soul and do devotional service according to your capacity. So it's very good that you're doing this exercise to come out of that bodily concept, but you just have to take the next step there. Rest of you, anybody at the bodily concept?
Unfortunately, we are in the bodily concept, although we are consciously aware we are not the body, but still we just get dragged into the same thing only.
Yes, Prabhu. And we are hearing this from the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, but
Yes, same thing.
Yeah.
attached to it.
Yeah, I have said, I am stuck at Krishna's first instruction. Krishna's first instruction is 2.13. You are not this body, you are a soul. Arey Baba, I am still stuck there. And therefore, why I had this discussion, this leads to the next verse, very heavy verse. Where, in verse number 17, Devahuti, after hearing all this, Devahuti will go and ask a follow-up question that is it even possible for jiva to separate from material nature? And this question is for Nitya Baddha to ask, that is it really possible to follow brahmacharya? Because most people in the material world are interested to associate with the opposite sex. Most are attracted to money. And therefore, Devahuti is asking on behalf of all Nitya Bhattas, or at least on behalf of me, is it even possible for jiva to separate from material nature? So it's a very important question that Devahuti is asking. So part 5 is verses 17 to 20. Devahuti's questions about rarity of liberation. Dipanshu Prabhu, verse 17, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Sri Devahuti inquired, my dear Brahmana, does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? Since one is attracted to the other eternally, how is their separation possible? Perfect. Devahuti, the mother of Kapila Dev, here makes her first inquiry. Although one may understand that spirit, soul, and matter are different, their actual separation is not possible, either by philosophical speculation or by proper understanding. The spirit soul is the marginal potency of Supreme Lord, and matter is the external potency of the Lord. The two eternal potencies have somehow or other been combined, and since it is so difficult to separate one from the other, how is it possible for the individual soul to become liberated? By practical experience, one can see that when the soul is separated from the body has no real existence. And when the body is separated from the soul, one cannot perceive the existence of the soul. As long as the soul and the body are combined, we can understand that there is life. But when they are separated, there is no manifested existence of the body or the soul. This question asked by Devahuti of Kapila Dev is more or less impelled by the philosophy of Buddhism. The Buddhist says that consciousness is a product of a combination of matter, and that as soon as the consciousness is gone, the material combination dissolves, and therefore there is ultimately nothing but voidness. This absence of consciousness is called nirvana in Mayavad philosophy. Right.
Dipanshu Prabhu, continue reading 18 and 19 translations and then we'll discuss.
Sure. As there is no separate existence of the earth and its aroma, or of water and its taste, there cannot be any separate existence of intelligence and consciousness. Hence, even though he is the passive performer of all activities, how can there be freedom for the soul as long as material nature acts on him and binds him? Right.
So, very important question Devahuti asked, that Devahuti wants to say that if earth is separated from aroma, then earth has no meaning. Similarly, if soul is separated from matter, then soul has no meaning. I mean, this is the understanding of the contaminated Nityapattha. So the solution is to surrender to Krishna. So we are always 24 hours under the control of material energy. But when we surrender to Krishna, question becomes, how does this happen? Like how does this mechanism work of surrendering to Krishna releases the jiva from the clutches of Maya? So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita. There's a direct verse. Anybody knows the answer or wants to try? Yes, no? So Krishna gives the guarantee of how this works, that Krishna orders Maya Devi to release control over devotees. So from our point of view, Maya is our controller. But Krishna is controller of Maya. Therefore, Krishna can ask Maya to release control over a devotee. Therefore, by surrender to Krishna, this happens. So I also described an analogy for this. Anybody remembers Devi hai aisa gunamayi verse?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, I remember.
Do you want to recite?
.14.
Yeah, 7.14. Daivihi asadanamai mama maya durateya mameva ye prapatyante maya metam tarantite.
Very good. So mam eva ye prapadyante. As one surrenders, result is mayam etam tarantite, that he transcends the modes of material nature. And in verse number 19, purport, we'll soon read. Srila Prabhupada explains that this release from material nature is not possible for those following other paths like Gyan Marg or Yoga Marg. Rather, only by Bhakti Yoga, one can get release from the clutches of Maya. And the reason will also come up. So we'll first read verse number 19 purport, and why those following Gyan Marga, why they cannot get the release, will also get answered in subsequent verses. Gopal Prabhu, verse 19 purport, faster pace.
Hare Krishna. Verse 19 purport. Although the living entity desires freedom from the contamination of matter, he is not given release. Actually, as soon as living entity puts himself under the control of the modes of material nature, his acts are influenced by the qualities of material nature, and he becomes passive. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Prakrite Kriya Manani Gune. The living entity acts according to the qualities or modes of material nature. He falsely thinks that he is acting, but unfortunately he is passive. In other words, he has no opportunity to get out of the control of material nature because it has already conditioned him. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also stated that it is very difficult to get out of the clutches of material nature. One may try in different ways to think that everything is void in the ultimate issue, that there is no God, and even if the background of everything is spirit, it is impersonal. This speculation may go on, but actually it is very difficult to get out of the clutches of material nature. Devahuti poses the question that although one may speculate in many ways, where is the liberation as long as one is under the spell of material nature? The answer is also found in Bhagavad Gita 7.14. Only one who has surrendered himself unto the lotus feet of Supreme Lord Krishna, Maham eva ye prapatyante, can be freed from the clutches of Maya. Since Devahuti is gradually coming to the point of surrender, her questions are very intelligent. How can one be liberated? How can one be in a pure state of spiritual existence as long as he is strongly held by the modes of material nature? This is also an indication to the false meditator. There are many so-called meditators who think, I am the supreme spirit soul. I am conducting the activities of material nature. Under my direction, the sun is moving and the moon is rising. They think that by such contemplation or meditation, they can become free. But it is seen that just 3 minutes after finishing such nonsensical meditation, they are immediately captured by the modes of material nature. Immediately after his high-sounding meditation, a meditator becomes thirsty and wants to smoke or drink. He is under the strong grip of material nature. Yet he thinks that he is already free from the clutches of Maya. The question of Devahuti is for such a person who falsely claims that he is everything. Ultimately everything is void, and there are no sinful or pious activities. These are all atheistic inventions. Actually, unless a living entity surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as instructed in Bhagavad Gita, there is no liberation or freedom from the clutches of Maya. Hare Krishna.
Questions, comments, realizations? Super heavy inquiry by Devahuti. And in verse number 20, Devahuti will give one more reason that fear may reappear. And this verse number 20 is for Gyanis, that Gyanis want to get out of the problem by identifying with the impersonal Brahman. And because of envy, they don't want to serve the Lord. So the root cause of the problem is not sorted out. Unless the root problem is not sorted out, hence they again get entangled. So in case of devotees, This is nullified because devotee understands that Krishna is the Lord, is the enjoyer. Otherwise, the devotee will never do service. So I explained in the previous verse that how it said that only by bhakti yoga you can get release from clutches of Maya, and why by Gyan yoga or other margs you cannot get release is because the root cause of the problem is not solved, meaning the envy against Krishna is not sorted out. If the envy is sorted out, then the Jnani will end up doing service and he will end up becoming a devotee. Mother Chandra Aunty, verse 20 translation.
Text 20. Even if the great fear of bondage is avoided by mental speculation and inquiry into the fundamental principles, it may still appear again since its cause has not ceased.
Yeah,
Hare
the
Krishna.
root cause the root cause of envy against Krishna has not ceased. Questions, comments, realizations. So now part 6, verses 21 to 23, the solution is given. Lord Kapila recommends intense practice of bhakti. So Lord Kapila explains the solution to do Tivra bhakti, intense bhakti. Uncle, verse 21, translation and purport, paragraph number 1.
Hare Krishna. 21. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one can get liberation by seriously discharging devotional service unto me, and thereby caring for a long time about me or from me. By thus executing one's prescribed duties, there will be no reaction, and one will be free from the contamination of matter. Purport, first paragraph. Sridhar Swami comments in this connection that by association with material nature alone, one does not become conditioned. Conditioned life begins only after one is infected by the modes of material nature. If someone is in contact with the police department, that does not mean that he is a criminal. As long as one does not commit criminal acts, even though there is a police department, he is not punished. Similarly, the liberated soul is not affected, although he is in the material nature. Even the Supreme Personality of Godhead is supposed to be in association with material nature when he descends, but he is not affected. But one has to act in such a way that in spite of being in the material nature, he is not affected by contamination. Although the lotus flower is association with water, it does not mix with water. That is how one has to live as described here by the personality of Godhead, Kapila Deva, Animita, Nimittana, Swadharman, Mana. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So a devotee or sadhaka, or even actually it should be a pure devotee. Sadhaka may still identify with body. So pure devotee in the material world does not identify with body. Jnani falls down because the root cause was not removed. Root cause of envy against Krishna. Therefore, the Jnani is not doing devotional service. The devotee can get out of the clutches of Maya by following Shravanam Kirtanam process. If the Shravanam Kirtanam does not happen, our bhakti will go away. We will do service with material consciousness. I have actually seen many of you. I have actually seen somebody comes to do services just in a materialistic way. That's not what service is. Service we have to do with love and devotion. So when we touch material energy, but if we continue to maintain Shravanam Kirtanam process, then we will not be affected. And the example is given, we read in the purport, that it is not that everyone connected with the police department are criminals. Thus, not all in the material world are Nitya Bhattas. There are some pure devotees also. So we as sadhaka, we have to do Shravanam Kirtanam every day. And devotees have two sets of duties: spiritual duties and material varnashram duties. So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 3.14. Yakya karma samudbhava. So the occupation for a brahmana or a kshatriya, etc., may be different. So as long as we do our material duties properly, by dovetailing everything in Krishna consciousness, then we will not be caught in Maya. Questions, comments, realizations? Shivangi, verse 22 translation. I'll explain the summary.
This devotional service has to be performed strongly, in perfect knowledge, and with transcendental vision. One must be strongly renounced and must engage in austerity and perform mystic yoga in order to be firmly fixed in self-absorption. Hare Krishna.
So Lord Kapila is saying, do Tivra Bhakti. Tivra Bhakti means intense bhakti, that one can get liberation by intense practice that includes intense bhakti for a long time, which includes without any desire for fruitive results, which includes by executing prescribed duties, and which is nourished by hearing about the Lord, which results in perfect knowledge and detachment, and also includes doing austerity, yoga, and self-absorption. And then verse 23 describes the result. So if you do all this, we follow Tevar Bhakti, the result is described in verse 23. Shivangi, 23.
The influence of material nature has covered the living entity, and thus it is as if the living entity were always in a blazing fire. But by the process of seriously discharging devotional service, this influence can be removed, just as wooden sticks which cause a fire are themselves consumed by it. Hare Krishna.
So in part 7, verse 24 to 26, the Lord Kapila will go on to further explain that Prakriti cannot harm an enlightened soul. So Devahuti in verse number 20, in chapter 27, verse 20, Devahuti asked about the reappearance of fear. So here Lord Kapila will answer Devahuti's question about this reappearance of fear. Shalini, 24 translation.
Hare Krishna. By discovering the faultiness of his desiring to lord over the material nature, and by therefore giving it up, the living entity becomes independent and stands in his own glory. Hare Krishna.
So it's pretty straightforward. By discovering your own faultiness, that by elevating ourselves to the devotional platform, we try to first identify our faults and then try to remove those faults. So I want to enjoy the material world. Then I am under the control of my external material energy. But when we do service for Krishna, We do not have any other desires, as well as no desire for liberation. And verse number 25 explains that the soul thus becomes awakened. So he has found his faults, he becomes awakened, and then the following verse will talk about result as liberation. Chandran Prabhu, 25 translation.
Hare Krishna. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. Hare Krishna.
So when we are awake, then the auspicious, when we are awake, then inauspicious things are removed. The affection for family, country, wealth, etc., they are all removed. And the result is described in verse number 26, that Prakriti cannot harm such an enlightened and awakened person. Gopal Prabhu, 26 translation.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Text 26 translation. The influence of material nature cannot harm an enlightened soul, even though he engages in material activities, because he knows the truth of the Absolute, and his mind is fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Pretty straightforward. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. So last few verses is part 8, verses 27 to 30. Title is Final Liberation of the Yogi. Mother Chandra Aunty, 27 translation.
Text 27. When a person thus engages in devotional service and self-realization of many, many years and birth, he becomes completely reluctant to enjoy any one of the material planets, even up to the highest planet, which is known as Brahmaloka. He becomes fully developed in consciousness.
So a devotee, by elevating on the spiritual path, he loses interest for everything of Bhumandala. Bhumandala means earth. His consciousness gets purified. He loses his interest of anything of Bhumandala, but also loses interest of enjoying higher planets. So some may want to go to heaven, some may want to go to Brahmaloka, enjoy some peaceful life. No, but devotee has lost enjoyment of the material universe completely, has lost interest in heaven, has lost interest in Brahmaloka. The devotee is simply interested in serving Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example of gopis, that gopis were only interested in serving Krishna. They were not interested in asking any other benediction. So verse 28-29 is about the ultimate goal. Mother Jija, 28-29 translation.
Verse text 28-29. My action becomes self-realized by my unlimited mercy, and thus when freed from all doubts, he steadily progresses towards his destined abode, which is directly under the protection of spiritual energy of bliss. That is the ultimate perfectional goal of the living entity. After giving up the present material body, the mystic devotee goes to the transcendental abode and never comes back. Hare Krishna.
So this particular set of verses speaks about sadhaka bhakta. That whenever rules are given, means it refers to sadhana bhakti. So Krishna gives results that by doing sadhana bhakti, who has developed Krishna consciousness, he becomes peaceful and he comes to the place of joy. The last verse, straightforward about liberation. Uncle, translation 30.
Hare Krishna. Verse 30. When a perfect yogi's attention is no longer attracted to the byproducts of mystic powers, which are manifestations of the external energy, his progress towards me becomes unlimited, and thus the power of death cannot overcome him. Hare Krishna.
Questions, comments, realizations. Completed the chapter. Chapter
Hare Krishna,
27.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, if the purest devotee of the Lord, the very pure devotee, if he does any aparadh, like unintentionally, if any other Vaishnav gets offended by his saying, but he is not aware of it. So, like, if he leaves the body, will he get the Golok, or he has to come back like he did
Yeah,
aparadh unintentionally?
as long as one does aparadh, you cannot reach spiritual planets. So we have discussed multiple times. Offense is the single most biggest item to avoid, and offense one can do even when one is, say, at the bhava bhakti level. Offense can still happen and he can still fall down. If you have done offense, it's not possible to reach spiritual world. You have to come back.
But Prabhuji, what if he doesn't know that, he's not aware that some Vaishnav is?
Yeah, offense is still an offense.
Okay. Thank you.
Prabhuji,
So for the offense, the devotee, even though the devotee may not think, means the one who is offended, he may not take it as an offense. Still, the Lord takes it as an offense, and we have to be very, very careful. Therefore, the offense is to avoid class. We have done it so many times, and I have asked so many devotees to listen to this so many times, because it's a single most important factor to ensure we don't do offenses. Dipanshu Prabhu?
Prabhuji, what if we pray to Krishna, like to forgive us, Vancha Kalpatarubhasya? So
That's
in
good.
that case,
we have discussed this in our offenses to avoid class, which is described in Canto 9 for the Amrish Maharaj's pastime, where Durvasa Muni offended Amrish Maharaj, and Durvasa Muni went to, he's powerful enough that he traveled all the way to Narayan and said, I have taken shelter at your lotus feet, you protect me. And Narayan said, no, I cannot. I am in the hearts of the pure devotee. I have no control. You have to go and ask for forgiveness from the pure devotee to whom you have offended. And then Durvasa Muni goes to Amrish Maharaj, offers obeisances, asks for forgiveness, and then Amrish Maharaj asks the Sudarshan Chakra to not kill or not hurt Durvasa Muni.
thank you.
Uncle?
Prabhuji, I am little confused in this. I will read it once again. and you can sharpen my
Which
understanding.
verse is it?
The last one, 30. When a perfect yogi's attention is no longer attracted to the byproduct of his mystic power, correct?
Mhm.
Which are manifestations of the external energy of Lord Krishna, correct?
Correct.
His progress towards me becomes unlimited. Is it said in the negative way or positive way?
Said in
Unlimited means,
yeah, it's negative way.
okay, that's what I wanted. So, can you
So
once again
so basically,
elaborate?
yeah, basically, if you are attracted to go to heaven, if you are attracted to go to Brahmaloka, if you are attracted for attaining mystic powers, these are all products of material energy. Then you are continuing your cycle of birth and death. But the verse is actually about liberation. So the verse says, when you are no longer attracted to going to heaven, no longer attracted to Brahmaloka, no longer attracted to mystic powers, then your progress on the path of spirituality is unlimited. You can just progress very quickly. So understand the whole verse rather than just saying that whether this word is used in a negative sense. I mean, the verse is written in such a way that if you are no longer attracted to any of the byproducts of material energy, then your progress towards Krishna becomes unlimited. Here, unlimited, so it's very easy, it's fast forward. And then the power of death cannot overcome you. Uncle?
Got it, Prabhuji.
Thus, we have completed the Bhaktivedanta purports of third canto, 27th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Understanding Material Nature. So have undivided attention, as I mentioned at the start, about the upcoming presentations by all of you. So we will be completing Canto 3 sometime mid-December. And each class after that, entire class will be, one devotee will do the presentation. So presentation will be roughly 45 minutes. I mean, there's no limit to time. You can also go more than that. So you can prepare a slide, you can prepare a video, or you can mix up things like playing a relevant video within your PowerPoint. You can speak about 45 minutes. And if required, I will assist each one of you individually to prepare your presentation. And I will also assist each one of you to choose a topic or a verse. So the purpose of this presentation is for you all to engage devotees present in the class. So you have to start from the start, like the whole invocation, like every time you all do invocation, I do the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. No. I am just going to be the participant. You all are going to do the presentations. So the purpose is that you will engage devotees present in class to read, just as how I engage all of you, or recall verses. You can ask them. You yourself recite verses from all the scriptures we have covered. You don't have to restrict to Bhagavatam or any particular. Recite any verses from all over. And it's not, I mean, if you can recite by memory, it's good, but you can put it on your PowerPoint, in your notes. You can recite from your notes. So for your preparation, you select a topic. You listen to Srila Prabhupada lecture for that topic or for that verse, and you simply repeat in your own words what you have heard from Srila Prabhupada and what you have heard from our classes and what you read from the purports. So I'll give you one example. Say one of you picks Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6 that devotional service is the essence of all scriptures. So your topic is devotional service is the essence of all scriptures, and you are using 1.2.6 as the base verse, and you are incorporating bhakti related topics from all scriptures. You don't have to restrict to Bhagavatam alone or the 1.2.6 verse alone. You're just using 1.2.6 verse as a clue to lead you into the topic of devotional service is the essence. So I request all of you to start thinking about what topic you are comfortable to talk about for about 45 minutes. So far you have done presentations for some 8-10 minutes, but this is you are doing a whole class. Again, this is our practice ground. You don't have to be afraid of this at all because everything will be in front of you. You'll be preparing a slide where you will have all notes. We'll listen to Prabhupada lecture. So it's still about 2 months away, more than 2 months away. So you still have time, and you will need time to listen to Prabhupada lecture multiple times probably. So start preparing. I will pause here for questions, comments, realizations, and then I will again summarize the steps for you all.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhuji,
Shalini, go ahead.
So Prabhu, this is basically from Canto 3 and it's one single verse, right, Prabhu?
You can pick any verse from any of the 3 cantos. You can pick series of verses, and you don't have to restrict on Srimad Bhagavatam alone. When you are speaking, you can refer to all scriptures. It's not can, you should refer to all scriptures. Shalini?
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes.
Dipanshu?
Prabhuji, so each one of us has to like prepare for 45 minutes.
Correct.
So it will be in the same day class or like?
No. One day, only one of you will present. So understand that 45 minutes you will use for presentation, then the next part is for rest of the devotees. What are rest of the devotees doing? Rest of the devotees will listen and ask questions. So you have to prepare ahead of time. What can be a potential question? Dipanshu, bro.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Rest of you?
Prabhuji, it is covering from Canto 1 to Canto 3. Am I right?
You can pick any verse.
Yes. Thank you.
Rest of you, questions, comments, realizations, or anxieties?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So once we decide either one verse or a series of verses, Prabhu, we can connect with you, Prabhu.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the steps again, that select a topic or a verse or series of verses. Find Srila Prabhupada lecture for your topic. I will assist you in finding Srila Prabhupada lecture for each one of you. You prepare slides if you want. You prepare your speaking notes. You start with the entire invocation prayers. So I will be an attendee in the class as rest of the devotees. The purpose is to engage all devotees in reading, recite verses from all scriptures we have covered. You can cover Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, Shishopanishad, Bhagavatam, all 3 cantos. Now include preaching application, meaning how this is going to help in preaching. And also include your personal application, that how you plan to apply. You might have already applied. Or if not, then how do you plan to apply in your life? So besides the devotee presenting, the rest of the devotees should ask at least one question to the devotee presenting. So 45 minutes if the devotee is presenting, and then there are questions. So it will take up some more time. Plus, so there will be learning. So this is our learning ground. Therefore, I mean, you will realize that 45 minutes is a very long time for you to talk about a topic. Does everybody have that same thought process?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so this presentations will be lasting for 2 or more months, right?
Yeah, it will go on for about 2 months. You are 10 devotees, so 10 weeks it will take. So I'll create a Google Excel document where you can populate your topic and the verse and which date you plan to present. So understand that you cannot send recording for this. You have to be physically or virtually present in the class, because this is back and forth. You have to engage everyone. There's not recording. This is virtually for you to be present in class. Questions, comments, realizations? Silence.
Prabhuji, we select the topic based on the earlier, where the part 1, part 2 you have narrated, based on that either one topic or number of verses or series of verses. Have I understood correctly?
Yeah, you are correct. Okay. I have a humble personal request for your consideration. So we may have to cancel 1 or 2 sessions in upcoming weeks because I have to write the Srimad Bhagavatam Bhakti Vaibhav exams. I will inform you ahead of time once I get the exam schedule from Mayapur Institute. So I don't know. I mean, I have asked that if the exams cannot happen on Sunday, but I have no control on that. It's the institute who sets the date. So I will let you know, and I request for your consideration. We can cancel those sessions, and I don't know how many it will get canceled. So I will let you all know. So those days, if we decide to cancel, I can send Srila Prabhupada lecture to listen to in lieu of the classes, as well as you can use the time to prepare for your upcoming presentations. The other thing you can consider is for devotee association as well as for revision. You all can consider to attend batch 3 and 4 classes on Saturdays. In this, our current batch 1 and 2, if you recall, we did not do units 1, 2, and 3 unit presentations. So coming Saturday, 5th of October, 11:15 a.m. Toronto time, is batch 3 and 4 is unit 1 presentation by the devotees. I mean, Chandan Prabhu and Shivangi and Dipanshu are anyway part of that presentation. I think I got everyone correct from those present here. Any thoughts, questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can you just repeat when are the unit 1 presentation in the batch 3 and 4, Prabhu?
The unit 1 presentation is coming Saturday, 5th of October.
Okay, Prabhu.
And then unit 2 and unit 3 will happen later on. I mean, what I was suggesting is that if we cancel our classes, then you can attend the Saturday's classes. But I still don't know my exam times. It will be impacts Some classes, I don't know which one. So once I get the schedule, I will let you all know. Are we okay to stop here?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.